Wednesday, January 22nd. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, we talk about one of the classic games of our time, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
Let's do this.
Lolo 2. It's there.
What about Lolo 2?
Lolo 2 is on the VC.
Yeah, how much do you like it?
You know, I think a lot of people forgot about Lolo or have never played Lolo. Lolo is a fantastic puzzle. Well, let me clarify that. Lolo is a very difficult but fantastic puzzle game. Lolo 2 is a wonderful puzzle game. Lolo 3 is garbage.
I never played the Lolos all the way through, and I never really noticed a big difference between them. I noticed that I think Lolo 3 had more of that timing kind of stuff. And
that was the problem. Lolo 1 and 2 were logic puzzles. It's, all right, my brain is here, my brain is
What do I
thinking.
do in what order?
And then Lolo 3, you get to a point where it's like, all right, I gotta hope that this randomly walking guy walks in front of that Medusa at the right time, and then I gotta bump into him to stop him, and then I gotta run past while he's stopped there, and that's a totally different game and completely beside what was fun about Lolo.
Yeah, I guess the Lolo had the element of, you know, it's a game where like you're on a map and you gotta open up an exit by pushing stuff around and shooting things, and you only have limited ammo. And you can only get ammo in certain ways and whatnot. And you also have to get out of that exit without getting killed. And one shot from anything kills you. So, you know, you push like things in front of bad guys that shoot at you so they can't hit you and stuff.
And there's a limited number of bad guys that act in, like, I guess, predefined, known ways. So that you kind of, once you solve all the basic problems, then they take all those pieces together and make more advanced problems. Like, you know, good game design. And they're just great games.
Yep. So, did you buy this Lolo too?
Not yet, just because I've been playing Punch-Out.
I've been playing Punch-Out. Are you gonna buy Lolo too?
Maybe.
Thing
is, I'd rather them just release all the Lolo games on the DS in like one cartridge.
That'd be cool. You know, when I had Fresh from the Air, someone found like my old cruddy website where I wrote a thing about Lolo way back in the 90s, and they asked me to they were making a Lolo clone and they wanted me to make some levels, so I just tossed together some like shit levels.
Yeah.
And I guess they credited me, and they put one whole world of the game is my Lolo levels.
Praise Lolo World.
Something like that. I made some pretty shit levels. That's what I
Actually, what I always thought, and I wish they'd bring the Lolo franchise back in a way of, imagine if, all right, I got my DS, right? Some sort of versus Lolo.
How would that work?
Well, it could either be, you know, put in a level designer and you have some sort of logic that figures out if levels are doable and constrain it so that you can't do too much with it, and then you race each other.
Well, limited. You give each guy the same number of pieces. Like you have this many pushing chests and this many bricks and this many Medusas and this many running guys, and you know, or maybe you have some number of points. And you have to buy the pieces of the map with points.
Or maybe you both take turns adding elements to a common map, and then the two of you race together toward the goal.
That would be okay.
Something like, I just feel like Lolo has not fully explored the possibilities of multiplayer madness.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, in Mario Party is that one mini game where you have to push the Goombas and then get the Hotel Goomba.
Yeah, the only problem with that was that, one, it brings memories of the Hotel Mario.
Yeah.
And two, it was always the same map. Like, once you knew it, you just
I know, but I'm saying
won.
if you had the verses of Lolo, sort of like Hotel Goomba is versus, they could work out.
Yeah, or even just Lolo, where you both race to beat levels together.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right. Also on the Virtual Console, they came out with Super Street Fighter 2, which it was really stupid because I was wondering, like, way back in the Virtual Console, they released like the shittiest version of Street Fighter 2. Like, didn't have, you know, like Street Fighter 2, everyone realizes they came out with so many versions of Street Fighter 2, it was ridiculous. And the only ones that were really worth it were in the arcade, the only one that mattered to me, well, there were two that mattered. There was Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition, which is the best one for me as far as I'm concerned. But the sort of ultimate edition was Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. So,
I was indifferent because I pretty much always played Guile.
Yeah, but on the Virtual Console, they came out with like Street Fighter 2 crap shit edition, and now they came out with decently playable edition. And I realized something though. It was like I was gonna buy it, but I really not gonna play it that much. So whatever, you know, maybe I'll buy it someday in the distant future. You know, if we like need a sudden Street Fighter 2 tournament or something, but. I've noticed I've been playing Punch-Out a lot lately, and part of that is because I can play it with the normal Wiimote. I don't have to plug in a controller or use a GameCube
Oh
controller.
yeah, you need a different controller. You
To
need
play Street Fighter, I need that extra controller. And I realized I want to play games on the virtual console. Like, I'll be sitting there, and I'll look, and I have Super Metroid on the virtual console. I'm like, I want to play Super Metroid
No. I do
now.
point out that all you would have to do is reach into the same basket from which you pulled out the Wiimote, and there's already another controller ready to go, and all you have to do is plug it into the Wiimote you're already holding. Well, you don't even have to move.
I know, but that small amount of effort sort of like, but punch, it's like, it's not that.
So I think the news here is that Scott is the laziest motherfucker.
You said it was happening to you also, though.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
I never said that. What game did I want to play other than Punch Out?
I think that's part of it, though, is that I see Punch Out right there next to the Super Metroid.
I think the reason you play Punch Out is because Punch Out is a superior game.
No, it's because it's like I could play two equally perfect games. One of them does not require a small amount of effort of grabbing an extra remote. So I'm going to play the one that doesn't require the extra remote.
Of course, none of this matters because a game I've been looking forward to since before I knew it existed is finally out. Advance Wars, the real deal.
Days of Ruin?
Yeah, pretty much. We did a show about Advance Wars, but every now and then there's a game that there's always that one nut who just goes crazy about it and like gets every secret and like super beats the game. And that was me in Advance Wars. I beat like the normal and the hard campaigns on every Advance Wars game that ever came out with like
and
perfect
and the entire war room except for the ones that were in previous Advance Wars.
Yep. Well, I'll leave it this way. I beat with an S rank every single war room in the entirety of Advance Wars 1 and 2. So when Advance Wars DS came out, half the maps were the same, and I didn't bother with them, other than to beat ones that were somewhat hard on the previous game really easily with some of the new characters, just for fun.
Yeah. But yeah, as a new Advance Wars, there was a release party at the Nintendo World Store. We didn't go to that. We were busy.
I'm so about this game. Now, the main reason I'm so excited about this game is that Advance Wars, the 3 games that we got in the US, pretty much played it out. Like, it got to the point where the strategies were known and perfect, and there was really nothing the game boils down very rapidly to nothing, and some of the characters were way overbalanced in the maps, and the game was getting to the point where you couldn't really play it competitively with a lot of people who are really good at it, which is something that happens to most games. And I wondered, what are they going to do? They keep adding more COs, which just makes the game more and more unbalanced. And then this Advance Wars is basically a reset.
Yep.
It's all new COs, all new everything. The game is going to be awesome, I think.
Well, we don't know until we get it, which is what, could be like a couple weeks?
Yeah, I pre-ordered it on Amazon stupidly, so I have to wait.
I don't think that's stupidly. I mean, you don't have to go to the stupid GameStop and deal with their bullshit.
Yeah, but at the same time, I could have just walked to the GameStop near me at work and just bought it.
Yeah, but I mean, having the game now is no different than having it in a couple
I don't think
weeks.
you understand. This is one of those rare games where once I get it, I'm pretty much going to do nothing in my life outside of Geeknights and possible extracurricular activities until I've beaten everything that there is to beat in this game.
Yeah, but I mean,
the
game isn't going to suddenly change in the next 2 weeks. It's going to be the same game now as it's going to be.
But I thought there was Wi-Fi. I could play this online with people.
Well, you can play it online with people 2 weeks from now.
Because you know how Nintendo Wi-Fi works. If you play a game in the first week, there's people playing. If you try to play a game in the second week, there's no one left.
Well, you can only get to play it with your friends anyway, so it doesn't matter. You don't want to play with random losers.
Yeah, see, I would. I'd say, I really want to have some sort of ladder ranking system, play with people online, but as we know, Nintendo basically took the idea of online gameplay and just fucked it.
I mean, at this point, whether a Nintendo game allows online play or not, it's as if it doesn't exist. It's like it doesn't even matter. They have this feature there, but the feature is so hindered by the friend code bullshit and all the limitations on it. It's so bad and so painful to work around it. It's as if it's not even there. They might as well have not put it in because I don't consider it when I'm buying a game. I don't use it. It's just that shitty.
Now, I can at least conceive of playing this game possibly with my friends via the Wi-Fi because a lot of times I want to play Advance Wars. Well, I always want to play Advance Wars. The thing is, no one else ever wants to play Advance Wars because when the front row crew is together, we do something other than play Advance Wars. We play T&E.
Yep.
But say I'm at home and Pete's at home and Alex is at home and Scott's at home somewhere in the house. We could play Advance Wars with the Wi-Fi, theoretically, if it doesn't suck or not work or something.
So we can't.
And maybe I can get some inroads and get these people off of their World of Warcraft.
No, I don't think Advance Wars is going to
Well, I think the problem there is that I'm pretty sure most of my friends could play Advance Wars with me online, and continue to play World of Warcraft without skipping a beat.
Yeah, I think the only hope you have of beating World of Warcraft is I don't know, something else. It's not gonna be Advance Wars. Yeah.
So speaking of World of Warcraft,
You have news there?
I do have news.
Oh my god, that wasn't news, by the way.
In the World of Warcraft, with computers, there's always a limit. You know, in the Matrix, that's how they beat the things in the end is, well, there's limits to what computers can do, and, integers run out and all that business. In the old video games, like in Civ 2 or Civ 1, you could edit the text file to give yourself more gold, but there was a limit, and you couldn't get more than that and all that business. It's the way computers work. Now, World of Warcraft, apparently, you can never have more than 2 billion? No, 214,748 gold pieces, 36 silver pieces, and 48 copper pieces. And you cannot possibly have more gold than that.
Uh-huh.
Now, the reason for this is, of course, they use a signed integer because that's 2 to the 31 gold. No one could ever have more than that.
Now, why do they should use an unsigned integer. That way you could have twice as much stuff with the same amount of memory because you're never going to have negative gold.
I have two thoughts about that. One, maybe they thought of the idea of allowing people to go into debt, or more likely, they just defined int gold and just never looked back.
Yeah. I would have done unsigned int gold. That way you could have twice as much gold as that.
But, of course, for people who don't play World of Warcraft, you might think 200,000 gold, that's not that much, because like in the Realm or a lot of other MMOs or, Eve, whatever, people have millions and billions and billions or whatever. 1 gold is actually a lot of money in WoW. Like, a lot of money. Like, people were talking about, I've never had more...
Like it's supposed to be in D&D?
It is like that in D&D. If you don't have like PC class levels, if you're just like peasant 4 and maybe like I don't know, local dude merchant 1,
ye old blacksmith in Shantytown,
you're maybe gonna see like 5 gold pieces in your entire life.
Meanwhile, adventurers have like 1,000 of them at level 1 where they're just like, they can get killed in one hit with a sword. They're so weak. It's like, what's so special about you get killed in one shot? Why do you have 1,000 gold?
Especially before 3rd edition where it wasn't like, oh, well, you have levels in those GIMP classes, like 4 levels of peasant or expert. But in the old D&D, if you didn't have player class levels, you were a level 0 commoner, and it wasn't like, oh, well, you'll level up in commoner. No, you can't level. There's no such thing as experience for you. It's not for you.
See, what I'd really like to do is, I think that maybe you should get like 5 NPC levels, and then a class level, sort of like... I was a blacksmith, and then I became a wizard. But now my blacksmithing skills disappear somehow? What's up with that?
Because blacksmithing is worthless.
What are you talking about?
It costs like a couple gold to buy a sword. Add 300 to that, you get a masterwork. The best a human can do without magic.
But I can craft a sword instead with magic myself.
It's easier to just spend 300 gold.
Right.
My favorite thing to do in D&D, D&D, especially if you're playing it kind of Beer and Pretzelsy, is... You're an adventurer. I got my thousands and thousands of gold. Whenever you're bribing some commoner, just drop a platinum. That's the equivalent of going to some dive bar in like Bolivia and finding some dude.
Why are you making fun of Bolivia?
Fine, some dive bar in Botswana.
Why are you making fun of Botswana?
Some dive bar in Albion.
All right.
And dropping, just walking up and saying, hey, I need some information on where Fat Tony is. And then giving the guy a cashier's check for $10 billion.
Something like that. All right. So that's your news there?
That's all I got.
Some loser got so much gold in World of Warcraft, he discovered the size of a 32-bit
I'm assuming that
integer.
is not, in fact, some loser who spent every waking hour playing, but someone who was smart enough to game the system.
Well, what they could have done is they could have said, hey, I wonder if there's a limit on gold. Everyone give me all your gold. And a bunch of people all gave their gold to one person.
If that's the case, then that person is the most brilliant scammer to ever scam scams.
Or maybe there's a gold farmer or something. I don't know.
Maybe
someone just bought gold from gold farmers to get to the limit.
You know how much money that would cost? Good God.
A lot more than, less, hopefully less than 2 to the 32 money dollars. Okay. So Brazil, a country where there are many good and many bad things. It's very weird. It's like in the U.S., all we do is bitch and bitch and bitch, but we have some good things here, but all we notice are the bad things. And we always look at other countries and say, oh, those other countries are so much better. But every one of those other countries is like so much better in all these ways and then so much worse in a whole different set of ways. And it's always interesting to see which countries have what is really good there and what's really bad there.
I'm really curious where you're going with this.
Well, in Brazil, they have a lot of really good things. For example, Creative Commons is huge there. Like, They're like, what is he's the culture minister of Brazil, is like a famous Brazilian pop star who's also super Creative Commons and awesome. And they're big.
Wait a minute. Okay.
What?
The previous part of that, he was a famous pop star. Now he's an important government minister.
The culture minister.
Yeah, I guess that works.
It makes sense, yeah.
I guess it kind of makes sense.
Right.
But still.
They're big Creative Commons. There's Linux action going on there. There's all sorts of they use the ORCUT big time down there.
Yeah, I know they use the ORCUT down there. That's the reason I don't use the ORCUT, even though I like the ORCUT.
Right. But, Brazil's pretty cool. But part of Brazil, not so cool. They just banned, get this is so ironic. They banned some video games. Specifically CounterStrike and Everquest. These two games are no longer for.
Does anyone still play Everquest?
I guess Brazil. I mean, Brazil, I read a thing a while ago, so I don't know how true this still is, but in Brazil, like when we were playing like PS2 and Xbox and One and in those days, Brazil was like all about Sega Genesis.
Well,
like,
I've read that pretty much in most of South America, the SNES Genesis era of video gaming is huge for a variety of reasons we don't need to really get into.
I mean, you don't realize it, but like Sega is like way huge around the world outside, the US and such. Like,
outside the US and Japan, pretty much.
Like they're building like Sega amusement parks in places around the world, like it's huge. Sonic the Hedgehog, huge.
Well, I mean, Sega did a lot better in like the UK and South America when it came out than it ever did in the US.
Yeah, I mean when I went
percentage-wise, I guess not absolutely.
I mean when I went to Israel in the year 2000, right? Every arcade that we saw was a Sega arcade, and all the tokens had Sonic on them. And when I went to this dude's house, he had a Master System, and I was like, whoa.
Oh, the Master System. That was a generally worthless piece of.
So they're generally I think they're playing older video games in that part of the world. So banning CounterStrike and Everquest is not. I guess those are popular there. But anyway,
I guess. I mean, I can't imagine anyone's playing Everquest.
But the ban was ordered in October 07 by a Brazilian federal court, and but they implementing it now. They're taking those games off the shelves.
So why did what was the reason?
Well, okay, you ready for this? This is the greatest part. You ready? Let me try to find the exact quote from the judge.
I'm waiting for something epic here. I'm waiting for some sort of just.
The judge, Carlos Alberto Simoes, ruled that the games encouraged, quote, the subversion of public order, were an attack against the democratic state and the law and against public security.
Wait, no,
close quote.
No. Everquest. How does that follow?
Right. Here's the thing that
CounterStrike I could kind of understand, even though you could look at it from the other perspective of, but half the players are counter-terrorists fighting for justice. They're on your side.
Right. They also said they incite violence and are harmful to consumers' health. Now, the thing that really gets me about this is he says we're an attack against the democratic state. I think censorship is an attack against the democratic state.
I also find it interesting that they didn't ban first-person shooters or violent video games or MMOs. They banned two very specific games.
That's the thing that really gets me.
If I play EverQuest 2, I'm okay. If I play Asheron's Call and I'm apparently also mentally damaged, it's okay.
Yeah, I guess it's okay to play World of Warcraft, but it's not okay to play EverQuest.
So I can play Counter-Strike Source.
It's okay to play Call of Duty, but it's not okay to play Counter-Strike.
I'll play Counter-Strike Source.
I know.
Different game.
Oh, I guess I can play, NS or Insurgency or any of those.
Besides, you know what? If they're playing old games, I'm sure they're all still playing Action Quake 2, which is arguably the best game ever to include an MP5.
Maybe, but I think it really shows just a lack of
understanding, knowledge, foresight.
The problem of the legal system not understanding technology in the modern world is not exclusive to the United States of America.
Anyway, things of the day. Now, the Wiimote can do all these interesting things, and I still think the power of the gesture-based Wiimote whatever has not even been close to have been tapped. I mean,
no.
A lot of the games that have come out and tried to use it have just done it horribly and just crappily, but at the same time, games have come out that have shown that there's a lot of potential there.
Much like Apple, Nintendo creates products capable of A, B, C, D, and E, but only creates software to do A, B, and C.
And much like Apple, Nintendo doesn't care what you want because Nintendo can laugh all the way to the bank.
Yep.
But this dude, I'm not going to go through all the details because the interesting part is watching this video. But messing with, the gesture-based stuff and whatever, he set up a camera thing, computer, whatever, and it's entitled Hand-Guided Mario. This is what the Power Glove should have been. Now, what he has made is not a good game by any stretch. It might be fun to play something like this once, but this would not be a good game. It is not polished. It doesn't work really.
This is a novelty and a cool sort of like proof of concept, but it's, you know, in terms of technology. It's not something you would actually play for fun, for awesome.
But basically, watch the first half and you think, oh, that's a good idea. It's as good of an idea as like Kirby's Canvas Curse. I'd love to see someone take that idea and make a really polished game with it.
I think Kirby's Canvas Curse is a better game than that.
Oh, but the idea, like how
they should
solid,
make a sequel to the freaking Canvas Curse.
They should make it on the Wii.
They should make a DS sequel and on the Wii.
But I'm just talking about like the idea of a platformer where you control characters. Something like this is pretty cool, and I think it's a solid idea. But keep watching after you think, oh, I get this, because after he beats that, the second half of the video is basically, all right, I've got this idea, and I showed you what I was thinking about it. Now I'm going to do something crazy and silly, just for fun, and it's pretty crazy and silly.
Yeah, it's good stuff. All right, so, you know, when you go to the craft store, there's that whole section of the craft store. Well, first of all, the most popular part of the craft store nowadays seems to be the scrapbooking. I don't know what the hell's up with those people, right? But the other second most popular part of the craft store is, I guess it's a tie between the cake decorating and the flower arranging, right?
I think flower arranging is a lot more space at most craft stores.
Well, I think that's just because it takes more space. You know, the cake decorating is smaller bits.
Well, it also depends on what craft store you go to.
That's true. Different craft stores have different stuff. But
I mean,
regardless,
there wasn't so much cake decorating at the Pirate's Booty.
No, but you know the Pirate's Booty.
Remember that craft store?
That was called the Treasure Island.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know where I thought Pirate's Booty.
Right. But
that
anyway.
was a craft store. We didn't know it was a craft store.
They did have cake decorating, though.
But not a lot.
Yeah. There was a store called Treasure Island. We're like, what the hell's that store?
We drove past it
We
a couple
finally went
times.
to it. It was a craft store.
Yeah, I don't know what I was expecting. Some sort of amusement park.
We have too many craft stores. We have like 3. It's too many.
So that one's gone now.
Right. But the cake decorating is pretty popular, and you know, cake decorating is mostly for old ladies, except for when you make nerdy cakes.
Isn't that the way it goes with everything? I mean,
yes,
knitting, old ladies, unless you knit a blooper hat.
Exactly. So, here are some of the best cake decorating I have seen, and it is cupcakes actually, and it's an array of cupcakes that when you put them together, one of them makes a Mario scene, and there's pictures, and the other one makes a Pac-Man scene, and you know, I mean, okay, cake decorating a scene of Pac-Man, you know, that's cool. Little ghosties, little pellets, little, you know, map, little power pellets, little Pac-Man, right? It's not really that exciting, but the quality of this cake decorating, this is like it's not expert cake decorating. I've seen professional cake decorators make crazy shit that'll just blow your mind, but this is, you know, as good as it gets without being professional. And it's really just the level of detail that goes into this is the highest quality.
And to speak for how, I guess, good this is, I did see it, you know, today. And Scott told me about, yeah, I've already seen that. And I didn't see it on some nerdy blog. I didn't see it in, like, whatever Scott found it on. I saw it on Google News while I was looking for something unrelated.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm absolutely sure there was a link to it on Google News.
Wow, because it was just Flickr galleries.
Yeah, granted, that's not saying a lot because Google News links to a lot of interesting news sources, but I did find that.
Yeah, so check these out. You will be impressed if you like Mario or Pac-Man.
But yeah, I think on that note, we have something much more important to talk about. So we've been doing Geeknights for years now, and I can't believe we never thought to talk about this.
Well, it's sort of rough because what's the real point of like reviewing something so old? I mean,
I can tell you very clearly.
I think what it is that, you know, it's tough to think to review or talk about something if it's to the point where if you don't know everything that we're already going to say in this episode, then how the fuck are you a listener? It's like you're not even someone I would look at.
Well, then again,
you'd be like an unlookable.
There are different. I mean, I think we'll get to it, but you can definitely tell what video game era someone's from by what they might remember about this game. Because there is one era of video gamers who remember this game as that game that used to have Mike Tyson in it. And there's another era of video gamers who say, yeah, that's that remake of the other game. And then there's the era of video gamers say, yeah, that's that game that was the only one ever to use the MMC2 memory manager.
I was waiting to see how long in the episode it would take for Rim to bring up his favorite piece of obscure Nintendo knowledge.
It's not obscure. Pretty much everyone from our generation knew if they subscribed to Nintendo Power, because Nintendo Power one day had an article and they were like, history of the Nintendo and how the Nintendo worked. And they had a page that showed what the Nintendo was capable of before the MMCs, the memory manager chips.
Yep, think about all the Nintendo Entertainment System games out there. Oh, I'm going to introduce the game now. Watch this. All right, all the Nintendo Entertainment System games you could think of, right? Now, a lot of what a Nintendo game is actually in the cartridge more than it is in the system itself, right? Because look at, like, the Super Nintendo was the same way. Star Fox had the FX chip, you know, and even the Sega Genesis was the same way, where, like, Virtua Racing had this big cartridge on it. So, because you could do a lot more in the cartridge. You could get more out of the game system by putting more chips in the cartridge. So, in the olden days, all the cartridges used the same chip, and you got games like Super Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, Ice Hockey, right? Sort of low resolution, not very big games, you know? I mean, some games really pushed it, like Metroid really pushed it.
Metroid used an MMC.
Oh, did it?
Yes.
Oh, okay then. You
No,
see that?
let me put it, I'll put it in much more stark relief.
No, I want to keep going the way I was going.
The 7800, the Atari 7800 came out after the Famicom, the NES came out. After they were similarly powered. The reason the NES was capable of doing Mario 3 eventually
with
was,
the MMC3.
well, basically the NES could address very little memory. So you could have very, very small games, and that was it. So in these cartridges, they were clever, and they said, wait a minute, what if I had a chip in each cartridge that would manage the memory for me? So
better than, you know, the other cartridges could.
So say I can, like right now, say the cartridge can hold 16 bits. That's going to be a shitty game. But my cartridge has 16 bits. I can only access 16 bits of stuff. So that the whole
so
game...
the letter A and the letter B.
The whole game has to be in that 16 bits.
The letter A and letter B.
But what if my computer can only access 16 bits, but I have those bits instead access a chip, and that chip accesses hundreds of bits, and it swaps through sets of those bits in 16-bit increments and feeds into the Nintendo via that 16-bit bus or that 16-bit interface what it can. So you can have a much bigger game coming through that little interface.
Yep. So games like, I guess, Metroid and others, Mario 2, right, and such.
Pretty much every game anyone remembers from the NES used a memory manager.
Right, but those are games using the MMC1. Games like Kirby's Adventure and games like Mario 3 were using the MMC3, the most superior chip.
I don't think you want to get into the talk of which game used which, because there's a bunch of surprises in there.
I know, but there was only one game to use the MMC2.
The thing is, the MMC chips, each one had different capabilities. And if you remember that Nintendo Power article, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Some of you might even remember exactly which chips could do what.
And there are articles on the internet that explain this in much greater detail than we're going to, because we want to talk about this game.
But the thing is, basically, the MMC2 is the punch-out chip, because the way it allowed you to have sprites on the screen and the way it allowed you to do things was exactly what they needed to make a game like Punch-Out. And that's why Punch-Out is so great.
I mean, look at Punch-Out. Look how different it is from every other NES game. The characters, they're so big, and they have lots of different parts to their gigantic sprites with lots of, you know, not necessarily high resolution, you know, but high quality and varying and very quickly animated sprites.
There's a lot of stuff moving on the screen. I mean, the audience is moving in the background. Mario can come out. Little Max jumping up and down. There's also the bar at the top with the score and the status and the health and everything. You can wipe screens to the other shots in the between the periods or the rounds or the bells.
You got the bicycle action. You got the
anyway.
Yeah, and that was only possible with the MMC2. And really, though, the MMC2 wasn't too useful for if you weren't making a game that was kind of like that.
Well, there are other reasons why it wasn't used more widely, but
yeah. No, they didn't make Punch-Out 2 like they should have for the NES.
Suffice to say, the if you didn't know that this is kind of one of those pieces of trivia that every Nintendo fanboy knows. So
Yep.
now you can stand tall, stand proud, and say, yes, why, did you know, dear friends, that Mike Tyson's Punch-Out was the only game ever to use the MMC2 chip in the Nintendo Entertainment System?
Blah, 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 blah.
And they'll either say, well, yes, obviously you're one of us, or they'll say, what? 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 What?
So, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, greatest boxing game ever, no question.
Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, I mean, for this game has such nostalgic value for me, and independent of that,
It's still
a
good.
great game.
It's still good.
I mean, if you take a kid today and have him play it, they'll probably enjoy it a lot. Probably a lot more than any other boxing game out there.
Yeah.
Rocky for the Sega Master System.
That was weird. But I mean, even like brand new boxing games that they're coming out with today that are super realistic in 3D, they're all suck their complete shit compared in the face of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
Now, very briefly, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out is a game where you're Little Mac. Little Mac is apparently 3 feet tall.
Well, he's not 3 feet tall. He's normal height. He's
All
like
right, fine,
4 or
fine,
5
fine.
feet tall.
So you're Little Mac, and you're like 5 feet tall. And you want to become the heavyweight boxing champion of the world.
and you train really hard.
And it turns out that every other boxer in the world is 12 feet tall.
Even the shittiest boxer in all of boxing, who was never even won, or maybe he won once,
Glass Joe from France.
Glass Joe from France, even though he's a wuss and he's like old and weak, he's still like twice your size, maybe 3.5 times your size. And he's the first guy. And you got to beat him up without getting the shit kicked out of you.
The game was just so perfectly put together. And gameplay aside, I think what really makes this game stand out is just the charm and the style and how each character is just so,
Racist?
maybe. You cannot help but look at Soda Popinski and think, damn, there's a man who likes his soda.
There is a man from Russia. That's what I think.
I think in the original arcade game, he was not so much the soda. He was about something else. Some beverage that perhaps Nintendo was not too keen on promoting.
The Vodak, maybe from
something like
Russia.
that.
Right, but his head is shaped like a bottle of soda pop. So anyway, the game is great basically for 2 reasons. You only need, I guess the music is great, right? That's a good reason. The controls are dead on. I guess, I had a little problem with dodging when I was a kid, but I don't know. I don't have any problem with it now. So I guess that was just when I
I'm
was
like
a
10
kid.
times better at this game now than I was as a kid.
Yeah, that's for sure. But basically, the gameplay itself was great. You had both the offense and the defense. You had to both dodge the opponent, right? You had to, but you also had to hit the opponent. And, the hitting was fun, the dodging was fun, but it was very simple. You only had 5 moves. Jump up, hit high with the left, high with the right, low with the left, low with the right, and the super attack, which is press start, it was sort of annoying to have to push start. They should have had it be like A and B at the same time.
I think start
but it's
works,
not. It
'cause
works just fine, but it could be a little better.
I think that was a limitation of remember, part of the revolution of the Super Nintendo was that they added some goddamn buttons.
They sure did. But yeah, the other moves you had were like dodge left, dodge right, duck, and block, and that was it. There's so few moves in this game. And your each opponent had crazy different moves, and they do all sorts of weird stuff. And really, the gameplay is just learning the patterns of the enemies and then figuring out what you had to do to defeat those patterns, and then looking for the visual cues and perhaps audio cues as to what, pattern move they were going to start doing so you would be able to counter it. And then the other half of the gameplay is push the buttons fast enough, because you fight Piston Honda and he's pretty dangerous if you suck. But you fight him again and he does mostly the same moves, changes them up a little bit, but he's twice as fast and it's twice as hard, because you might know the pattern, but you don't push the button fast enough, he's gonna hit you right in the face.
Okay, so Soda Popinski's original name from the 1985 Punch-Out arcade game. You know what it was? You want to know what it was?
What?
It's kind of epic.
All right.
Vodka Drunkensky.
Yeah. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, Vodka Drunkensky.
I'm not making this up.
So, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out for the NES is the game that everyone has nostalgia for, but there was a Punch-Out, a plain old non-Mike Tyson Punch-Out that came out in the arcades before that, and I've seen this machine. I've never actually played the machine because I've never seen a working one or one that was working well enough, but it's a very strange machine. I don't know, maybe we can find a picture of it online or something, but it's not like other arcade machines. I don't know how well it plays. But apparently it still had the charm of the racist stereotype characters from around the world.
Oh, yeah. Well, there were actually two of them, 1984 and 1985. And the characters in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out and Mr. Dream Can Die in a Fire. But
yeah.
were drawn from both of these. Punch-Out in 1984 had Glass Joe, Piston Hurricane, Bald Bull, Pizza Pasta.
Oh, I want to fight Pizza Pasta.
Kid Quick, and Mr. Sandman.
Yeah, Mr. Sandman is a fucking dangerous motherfucker. He will put you out.
And the 1985 one had Bear Hugger, Dragon Chan, who is actually Bruce Lee, and apparently he's a kickboxer.
Oh, Bear Hugger is the second guy in Super Punch-Out, which we'll talk about soon enough.
Well, this is Super Punch-Out, the arcade game.
Oh, okay.
Vodka Drunkinsky, Great Tiger, and Super Macho Man.
See, I played Super Punch-Out in the arcade, and it was pretty much identical to the Super Nintendo one, but it was the arcade. So that must have been a 90s Super Punch-Out.
1985 is when this came out.
Well, I didn't play that one. I must have played a different Super Punch-Out arcade that came out in the 90s. But anyway, there was so Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. The gameplay is great because it's just these simple patterns, your reaction times. It's so simple, but so elegant and so beautiful.
Like, it's a game that once you have mastered it, once you are able to beat all of the opponents, then there's not really fun to play anymore. Luckily, not many people have mastered the game to that degree, so it's fun for pretty much everyone.
Yeah, even though I'm really good at it, like, I can get to, like, the second Bald Bull fight, and then it starts getting hard, and sometimes I'll lose.
I think everyone who had this game as a kid remembers that you'd fight and fight and fight, and you'd always do okay, and, like, you'd get over a hump, and then you'd beat a bunch of people like nothing. And then you'd hit Piston Honda the second time, and that was the fucking end.
Well, no, I know a secret to beating him now.
Oh, yeah, but before you knew that secret...
Yeah.
But
when you get to Soda Popinski is when it starts to get a little bit difficult.
Of course, I think the funniest thing was Scott apparently did not know until yesterday that you can beat Don Flamenco pretty much without having to do anything.
Yeah. I just kind of beat him up normally. You know, it's weird. That's the other great thing about this game is that, you know, there's patterns you can follow to beat guys, but there's actually, for the easier guys in the game and some of the harder guys in the game, there's sort of like other clever things you can do. Like, for example, who's the German guy you fight right away?
Oh, Von Kaiser.
Right. When you fight Von Kaiser, right? He does this move where he'll duck down into the left, and then he'll do an uppercut, right? So the moron who doesn't know how to play will just get hit by the uppercut or block it.
Or
right?
maybe they'll be smarter and they'll duck it or dodge it, but still.
Right, or dodge it. The slightly better player will dodge it, then immediately hit him in the face, thus stunning him, allowing you to hit him in the face a few more times, right? The super advanced player will actually do a low punch to the left while he's ducking to the left. You can hit him while he's ducking down there, and that will get you a star, and which you can then dodge his next uppercut and use the star on him and knock him down. And it's really great. I like that. You know, it's not just one of those games you memorize the pattern and then react to the pattern quickly enough. The pattern, you can actually mix it up. You can choose different moves, get a little bit of strategy in there, try something more clever. And usually, the more daring, the more difficult patterns usually give you the better rewards. You know,
I mean, that's what makes the game great is that, and I think a lot of game designers forget this fact, and a game does not have to be terribly complex to be a great game. What you have to do is figure out what you want the game to be, make the game complex enough to provide what you wanted, and then perfect that.
Yeah, I noticed this is really, really evident in a lot of sports games across the board. You know, look at ice hockey, right? What are the buttons in ice hockey?
Well,
shoot, pass, hit somebody, right? What else do you need? Modern hockey games, they give you all these extra buttons. Hit them this way, hit them that way, go faster. You don't need those buttons. All you need
I think this is why the
is pass and shoot.
Nintendo sports games always seem to come out on top for me.
Look, even today, even the crazy Madden people, if you ask them what's the best football game ever, they will all say like Tecmo Super Bowl for the NES because it had enough of a football game in there to be a football game, recognizably football and fun as football.
I mean, if you know
without putting in too much bullshit.
If you know how to play football, even if you barely know how to play football, you can sit down and play that game and have a good time.
Yeah, now you play like Madden and you have to know all these extra controls like dodge to the left, dodge to the right, spin, dive, all these different things. Just give me run away from the guy or lateral. Those are the really only buttons you need. Making it more complex than that makes the game, less accessible and less fun. And Punch-Out is still better than any, people have come out with these super realistic boxing games where you can throw punches exactly where you want to and do all sorts of different crazy moves and actually control walking around the ring in 3D. And none of them are as fun as Punch-Out. Not even close by a mile. Yet Punch-Out is the much simpler game. And I really think we'd be very well served if somebody made another game that was not any more complex than Punch-Out, just throw in new characters and different patterns.
Oh, I think Punch-Out has enough complexity to where I would love to see people on the internet just start hacking this ROM. Of course,
people keep hacking all these other ROMs, like making their own
you know
Mario
why they're
3.
probably not?
Yeah.
Damn you, MMC2.
Damn you, MC2. But yeah, people hack the Mario 3s and they make new levels. And they hack Super Nintendo games.
It would be easier just to remake this game. I've already reverse engineered it in my head. I know how it works.
Yeah, it's not difficult.
I mean, I could if this game kept giving me interesting characters, it would take me years to get bored with it.
Yeah, if you just kept coming up with new characters, with new moves and new patterns, racisms, then you could just play Punch-Out forever and ever as long as the new guys aren't lame.
Plus, I mean, this is the game that brought us King Hippo.
Yep.
A lot of people don't remember that this is where King Hippo came from. They watched Captain N, and King Hippo was there. He was just some fat Filipino guy.
Filipino, really?
I think he's Hawaiian.
Yeah, he's Hawaiian, I think.
No, Hippo Island, South Pacific.
He's Hawaiian, whatever.
He's from Hippo Island. He's Hippoian.
I'm sure. Is everyone there fat? Anyway, I think he's...
if you live on Hippo Island, you'd better be fat.
I think the guy who played King Hippo was the same guy who played the chief in Star Tropics. But, yeah, so there was also... So Punch-Out is perhaps the greatest... is definitely the greatest boxing game ever because excellent gameplay, excellent music, excellent characters.
And Bald Bull... Because pretty much every kid would die on Bald Bull the first several times. Even the first time when you never played this game.
He was dangerous the first time if you didn't know what you're doing.
Well, what I'm saying is a new player, like you're playing this game and like I'm gonna beat this game, and Don Flamenco's a wuss, and King Hippo's easy once you figure him out, and Great Tiger's pretty easy, but then you hit the
Great
Bald
Tiger
Bull.
used to fuck me up because I didn't know what to do about his crazy spin move,
See, I knew exactly what to do. As long as he had enough life, I was okay. But Bald Bull, the thing was, when you beat him, that laugh, the way he reacts when he wins is frightening.
I suggest if you think you're really good at Punch-Out, and you might be, right? Go play it again, but on purpose lose to everyone. Lose every fight.
Except Glass Jokes, he doesn't do anything.
Right, well, lose to Don Kaiser, then beat him and lose to Piston Honda, then beat him and lose to Don Flamenco. Because they do funny racist things when they beat you. They do their taunt like, ha ha ha, I'm better than you. And they're all really funny and you don't want to miss any of them. All right, so you want to talk about Super Punch-Out?
Sorry, I've been staring at this animated gif of Soda Popinski's face. and he's just drinking. And it says pop on that bottle.
Yeah. All right, so Super Punch-Out for the Super Nintendo was technologically superior to the first Punch-Out. All right, you had the guys you were fighting were now like 10 times the size of you instead of like 3.
Would you like to have some punch to drink?
Yeah, the star meter worked a little differently. Like you had this power up meter on the bottom, and it was a little different. You had a few more moves you could do, even though it was generally the same set of moves. The gameplay was basically the same. Dodge, then hit the guy, dodge, then hit the guy. Only it got much harder, and basically. It was the graphics are superior, the audio was better, the guys would say things occasionally, like, the first guy you fight is not Glass Joe, it's Gabby J, and he's like,
Gabby J.
Gabby J! He says his name when you fight him, and it's good stuff. It's not a bad game, it's just, it doesn't have sort of that retro charm of the original Punch-Out. Of course, it was weird that the original Punch-Out had retro charm, even when it was brand new.
I think part of it is that the way it's presented is like a lot of the newer boxing games, they always have like a transparent generic guy as you. But Punch-Out, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out had Little Mac, and he's this little guy, and you're so little, and it's not like this first person, I am playing a boxing game, or I'm a wireframe dude with green hair. It's, all right, I am watching Little Mac, and Little Mac's gonna win, because Little Mac's got guts.
I just recalled that Perry Bible Fellowship.
You
I'm
can
ready to take on the world, Doc.
I feel ready.
I'm ready to take on the world.
Bop.
and then Doc just with his mouth open.
But there's just this feeling from Punch-Out that Little Mac can do it. And the fact that his body blows, he punches. And if he wants to hit him in the face, he jumps into the air and puts his little fist up and pegs the guy. And when that little dude knocks down someone 8 times his size, you feel something there.
It's like a miracle.
Also, the music. God damn, did that game have some great music for the NES.
All right.
I think there's a reason that the music in Punch-Out has been so remixed so often.
Super Punch-Out doesn't really quite have the same epic music. It just kind of has average SNES music. It has better sound effects, though. You know, but it's also less racist in some ways.
The characters just weren't as caricatured. They weren't as awesome. I don't know. It didn't
Yeah, I
feel
mean, they
like...
had, like, you know, Bear Hugger, and they had Super Macho Man was still in there, and they were kind of funny guys, but they were less racist, I guess, which I guess could be a good thing in some ways. But they were also, you know, just less appealing, less awesome. You don't remember. I mean, seriously, do you remember the guys who were the bosses in you know, the boxers from Super Punch-Out? Not too many of them, because they're not memorable. Every guy in the first Punch-Out was memorable, very memorable, and very hilarious in their own way.
Except for the kids who never got past the second bald bull.
Yeah.
Because then they never saw Soda Popinski. I had a lot of friends as kids who didn't even know Soda Popinski existed.
Wow. Well, you had to know that Mike Tyson's the last guy, so...
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Or Mr. Dream.
But yeah, in Super Punch-Out, basically, you fight in these, like, you know, there's different, you know, championships, and, like, each one is 4 guys, and after you beat all of them, a new one opens up, and the ones before the new ones opens up are actually kind of playable, but the one, that last one is, like, freaking impossible without cheating. I cheated to beat it, and... There's basically the last 2 guys, like these 2 brothers, and you first fight one brother and then the even harder brother, and damn, they are fucking danger. Like, you can't beat them, basically. It's close to impossible. And yeah, it's a good game still. I mean, if you like Punch-Out and you need more, Super Punch-Out is where you're going to get more, but
at the same time,
it's not as good.
It's not going to do it for you. You're going to play that game, and you're going to go right back to Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
Which is available on the Virtual Console, but they changed Mike Tyson into Mr. Dream.
They changed it into Mr. Dream on every iteration. There's a lot of talk about why they did that, but from what I've heard, it had nothing to do with anything Mike Tyson did. They just didn't want to re-up, probably because he wasn't the champion anymore by the time they...
Oh, whatever. Mike Tyson, you know, for all the bad things that Mike Tyson has done in his life, you have to respect his boxing talents that he had in the past.
I'd recommend, I think we've said this before, but if you don't know anything about boxing, go search for some random boxing videos on YouTube, just to, you know, to get a sense of them.
Go watch.
No. Watch a bunch of random ones, right? And then go watch a Mike Tyson video.
And then go watch Muhammad Ali.
And Mike Tyson's scary because it's like normal boxing, like ding, and then they start boxing. Mike Tyson, it was like ding, and then the other guy is just against the ropes being pounded on.
Yeah, I mean, as gruesome as boxing is, and whatever you have to say about it as a sport, like watching the great boxers do their thing, it's like the way their bodies move is like this amazing thing that is like not to be believed.
A great boxer is not even in the same class as other boxers. Like great boxers boxing against normal boxers is like me trying to do kendo against Katsu.
Yeah, seriously. There's if you search for Muhammad Ali on YouTube, there's going to be this one black and white video that shows up, and that's like the best boxing I've ever seen in my life. He throws so many punches so quickly. It's kind
of frightening.
It's incredibly frightening because then you see, all right,
Scott. Little Mac is 17 years old. He's 4'8", 107 pounds.
Go, Little Mac, go!
From Bronx.
Go, Little Mac.
He's from the Bronx. Represent.
Bodega.
I can't win, Doc. He's hurt me, Doc.
Oh, there's also the select trick.
Oh yeah, you know what? There's a note about that in the instruction book.
What does it say?
The select trick wasn't really a trick. It was part of the game.
All right.
You can hold select between rounds of a boxing match, and Doc Lewis will massage you faster to get your health back.
Yeah.
It also weakens your punches. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, the wow, Punch-Out. I guess another thing about Punch-Out is the way in which the controls like sort of matched what was going on. Like you push B, the left-hand button, right, to punch with your left hand, and A to hit with your right hand. And then when you got knocked down, you would push A and B a whole lot to try to get back up. Like, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up. You know, and that rapid pushing of the buttons while you were trying to get up it sort of brought you close to Little Mac. Like, get up, come on, come on.
There is also this kind of end game where, all right, you can beat the game. Now beat it better, because you can get TKOs if you knock people over 3 times, which is how you beat most people. But you can knock out every single person in this game.
Yeah, I mean, most of the guys... Like I was saying before, you know, when you fight guys, there's ways to beat them up in which, you know, you just sort of dodge and then beat them up and then dodge and then beat them up. And that's sort of like the basic strategy. And it works. You'll beat most of the guys that way. But you won't get knockouts. You'll knock them out 3 times in a single round. And then Mario will come out and just say TKO, which means you still win. It's a technical knockout, right? But if there's a way to actually knock every guy out in the game to make him stay down for 10 whole seconds and then you win. And I only know how to do it for maybe like 5 or 6 guys.
Now,
you can't fail to knock out King Hippo though.
No, well, unless you die.
Oh, I guess if you knock him down, he can't get up because he's so fat.
Now, I have one very important warning for all of you. I mentioned Captain N, the Game Master, a little while ago. If you don't know what that is, don't look it up. And if you do know what that is, and you haven't watched it since you became an adult, do not go back and try to watch that show.
It's like He-Man. Like when I was a kid, I loved He-Man. And then when I was older, I had forgotten what He-Man actually was, but I remembered liking He-Man as a kid. So I tried to go back, and when the internet finally gave me the ability, I got some He-Man, and I went back and I saw the He-Man that I remembered loving as a child. And I wish I had not, because He-Man sucks.
See, She-Ra was actually far superior.
It was far superior, but it still wasn't that good.
No, but Captain N really takes the cake for being bad.
Oh, it is so bad.
I mean, watch that, and the Super Mario Brothers Super Show suddenly becomes a whole lot better.
Super Mario Brothers Super Show becomes Shakespeare compared to Captain N.
Oh, wow. Someone made Little Mac's diary.
Wow.
The 16-page diary. Okay.
So, get Punch-Out on the virtual console.
It's kind of cute. Oh, it's kind of, never mind. It's not. It's
they should make Punch-Out DS.
Yes, they should. Versus
Punch-Out. No, I don't know if that would work.
The thing is, versus Punch-Out would only work if, one, you'd have to get a little bit more control. You'd have to be able to, like, at least, like, say, oh, hey, get this. Say you could take your guy and customize him. Pick the nose, pick the face. You make a caricature stereotype for your dude.
All right.
And then you have a list of kinds of moves, and you can, like, set them up. So, like, if I do a right, like, the controls wouldn't be any different. But you set it up so if I do a right body blow, it does the Kaiser body blow, or it does the Mr. Dream body blow. And you can mix it up and make your custom character and then box.
Like you choose from a set of moves. You know, the problem is, right, how would that work? Because one person has to be Little Mac.
You know how I'd make it work?
Mm-hmm.
I see my screen. On my screen, I'm Little Mac, and I just box like normal. And on your screen, you're Little Mac, and you just box like... It's just skinning. It's just skinning.
That might work.
It's just Little Mac versus Little Mac.
It might work. For
$5, I'd play that.
Yeah, for sure.
Thing is, in the end, we just need more stereotyped characters to come out and be 8 feet taller.
They don't have to be racist, but they do. This game really wouldn't work if the characters themselves weren't so endearing and memorable. So you need to really get awesome characters like that.
Vodka Drunk Kenski.
Let's end it on that.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to Geeknights at frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.